Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. Welcome to our expert panel, AI Starts with Data, What Leading Teams Are Doing Differently, brought to you by our friends at Fivetran, Accenture, and Snowflake. I'm Brian Mink, co-founder and president of Data Science Connect, the world's largest data and AI ecosystem for enterprise leaders. Today, we're excited to welcome hundreds of attendees from all over the world to discuss what it really means to be AI ready and how the right data strategy can set your team up to deliver real results. Every AI breakthrough starts with a solid data foundation, but too often organizations jump into AI without the infrastructure, strategy, or clarity to make it work. In today's webinar, you'll learn how leading teams are building reliable, scalable data systems that power AI success, and walk away with a clearer roadmap for getting your data and organization ready for what's next. We're honored to hear from a distinguished panel of experts today. Mark Vanderwiel, Field CTO at Fivetran, Ruchi Soni, Managing Director at Accenture, and Venkat Suru, Field CTO at Snowflake. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. To make this feel a little more in person, we suggest you add a photo to your profile and include your bio, LinkedIn profile, and other information you want your fellow attendees to see. If you're wondering where your organization stands compared to others on your AI journey, check out the poll question in the right sidebar. And finally, to learn more about how to build your data strategy for AI, check out the calls to action below throughout the webinar from our sponsors. Now, without further ado, I'm excited to welcome our panelists to the stage. Welcome, everyone. And we'll kick things off with some intros. So if you wouldn't mind just giving a quick introduction to yourself and your organization and what you do. We'll start with Venkat.
Hi, Brian. Nice to meet you and nice to meet all the panelists. Myself, Venkat Suru. I'm a field CTO and partner platform architect at Snowflake. It's been 3 years in Snowflake now, and yeah, it's been great with all the newest, greatest things that we're going to talk in the session.
Excellent. Mark?
Hello, everyone. Good day. My name is Mark Vanderwiel, Field CTO at Fivetran. I get the opportunity to work with a lot of Fivetran's largest customers. As Fivetran, we focus on enabling the data infrastructure and moving data and making data ready for AI. So I think this will be an interesting discussion. Been with the company for about 4 years at this point.
Thanks, Mark. And Ruchi.
Hi, everyone. Ruchi Soni. I bring around 20 years of data experience at Accenture. My job is to help customers, unlock full value of their data, bring innovation, scalability, and ensure that we have business-aligned platforms. With a strong focus on innovation, I architect and scale future-ready platforms on forward-looking technologies like Snowflake. I'm a Snowflake Global Practice Lead. I am a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a patent holder, and I'm very, very passionate about shaping the future of data by enabling people, platforms, and ideas to thrive. I'm more than happy to join this discussion because that aligns with the way I foresee things. So glad to connect with all of you.
Excellent. Welcome, all of you. Excited to have a great discussion. So we'll kick things off with our first questions. Many organizations right now, of course, are eager to dive into AI, but they aren't sure if their data is ready. From your perspective, what does it actually mean to be AI ready? We'll start with you on that one, Mark.
Yeah, so AI ready, from my perspective, AI obviously is driven and enabled by data. So a solid data foundation is absolutely the basis that we go from, along with a platform that has the scalability to execute the kind of workloads that we want. Now, when we look at the industry, a lot of operational data sources are individual silos. We use a lot of SaaS applications. We use database applications. We have data streams. We may even have files coming in. And all of these data sources have to be combined in order to get the maximum value out of an AI initiative. So consolidating data and getting it onto a powerful platform is the foundation for AI from my perspective.
Ruchi, what are your thoughts?
So I think I'm aligned with what Mark is saying. It's all about making sure that your data foundation is right. So for me, AI ready means that your data is reliable, it is connected, and it is well governed. Extremely important. I have seen many organizations, they underestimate how much foundational work is needed before AI can truly create business value. So I think if organizations can spend more time on finding and cleaning data than actually using it directly, right? Then I would say that we are not there yet. Once your foundation is in place, which means that your data is ready, you have all the right ingredients there, then the way AI, the way I say AI shifts from experimentation to scaling intelligence into every decision. So that's the definition for being AI ready for me too. Yeah.
Great perspectives. Venkat?
That's a great question. So this is where we start at Snowflake, right? To make like we say, there is no AI strategy without data strategy, and Snowflake's whole mantra has been make the platform simple, easy to use, secure, and fully managed. So the guiding principles are you give the platform in such a way that the customers, partners do not have to go through all the bells and whistles and DIY approach. Simply bring in your workload and you should be able to run your analytics, right? The simplicity part of the platform. So any platform that meets the AI requirements needs to take care of all the data issues. So whether it's data quality, data governance, used for various personas, that's another key thing, right? It's not just gone are the days when it was just data professionals who worked on data platforms. Today you have business users, you have application users, DevOps teams, MLOps teams, LLM ops teams, and all of them use different languages, different tools, and the platform has to support various things, but again, take away the pain of management. So fully managed. So again, we'll talk more as we go, but that gives a good view on where Snowflake is coming from to make it easy, bring in your workload and run your workload rather than going through all the infrastructure and pain and security and so on.
Yeah, great points from all of you, setting the stage for the rest of our discussion. What are you guys seeing as some of the most common data challenges that are holding organizations back right now from succeeding with AI? Ruchi, why don't we start with you on that one?
Sure. And I'll bring my experience here talking to different clients, and you would be surprised. I think it's not a technical challenge. The biggest challenge that I see is more foundational. Now, what do you mean by foundational? So there are different aspects. Let's say data quality and consistency. If your data is fragmented, it is incomplete, it is full of errors, then your AI models will be more of more noise rather than getting the right insights. Then data silos. So we have been hearing about the term that data is the new oil, and we are talking about it since long. But still, I see a lot of clients, a lot of organizations where data is fragmented here and there, and that's what Venkat also mentioned, that it's important to bring all of these things together, and that's where Snowflake comes into picture, right? It has a very, very strong data foundation and a lot of governance in place. So data silos is another thing. Then ownership and governance extremely important, because if you do not have the right accountability and metadata, then teams will spend more time in chasing data than actually using it. And then another important factor that I've been facing right now is more about skill gaps. Even with the right data, if you do not have the people, the right skills, the right technologies to support that, then it's more like all your AI initiatives will be stalling. So overcoming all these challenges, it's important. And for that, what you need is a modern platform, strong governance, and a culture that treats data as an asset. And that is where, Accenture, Snowflake, Fivetran can come together and can create a very good picture for everybody.
Yeah, great points about the people and the platforms. Venkat, what are your thoughts on that one?
Absolutely. All the points that Ruchi mentioned, but again, I'll emphasize more on the removing data silos. And this is where, to give an example, how Fivetran and Snowflake combined with all the integrations, we do the better together story, right? Which is right from data ingestion. How can you quickly ingest, even if it's a completely new customer going from on-prem to cloud and modernizing their data stack, how can they have pipelines built really fast so that they don't dabble months of POC? They can do it really fast, and that's where Fivetran does the complete automated pipelines on Snowflake, and then bring in all the data. Now, I want to give this analogy, right? Going back to the cloud and infrastructure days, IT team used to be seen as a burden at many years ago, and they moved into becoming a billable organization for businesses. So that transition happened where TCO, ROI became the big thing. Now data teams are also moving there, right? We see customers moving there and saying data is the heart of the company. Even those who don't create data, the metadata, like Ruchi mentioned, the metadata that's created around the business is actually so valuable. And that requires the entire practice, right, to bring in the intelligence into the platform. So having just raw data is not enough, but the business intelligence around that data. So that's what the metadata feeds in. And later we'll talk how this feeds into AI. So I don't want to jump the gun there. So given that, you can see how data teams are adding value. And this is where a lot of customers are seeing their competitors go ahead, and whoever adopted first see that they're adding a lot of value when it comes to data. So one point I want to leave there is that we want to encourage customers to start looking at, even if it's their internal data, start to think of data as your product. So once you start to think of it as a product, then all the process and everything falls in place, so that then their speed to value, all of that comes into picture, right? So then the value that you, the priority that you give to the data suddenly becomes of importance, and CXOs to everybody kind of works around it. Remove silos, have a single source of truth, put all the guardrails around it, the governance. So it kind of follows one step at a time there.
Yeah, great points. Mark, what are you seeing as the biggest challenges?
Yeah, I like Ruchi was so comprehensive in her response that I don't think there's much to add. What I do want to highlight, though, is like when you consider like Fivetran from a data movement and data transformation perspective, and you look at Snowflake as the data platform, I do want to go back to a point Venkat highlighted in the first question about ease of use. Like ultimately, when you, as an organization, we talk about infrastructure and we're very excited about our technology, but ultimately we want to enable our customers to leverage their data to their advantage, right? Like what makes them more competitive? How can they leverage AI projects to be better at their customer service, to save costs, to ultimately be more competitive, and also to what Venkat just said, like how can you create data products, right? Something that creates true value for your customers. So the ease of use of our platforms is critically important, so that again we can enable our customers to focus on what's truly differentiating them. And as much as we like to talk about moving data and storing it, that's not differentiating an organization. It's what you do with the data after you've gone through all these steps. So we want to make these steps as smooth and quick as possible.
Yeah, excellent points. So you guys spoke earlier about establishing data foundations as a key to success of AI initiatives. Some of those foundations are data quality and data access. So how do data quality and access impact the success or failure of AI projects? Venkat, why don't you start with that one?
Absolutely. I think this is the, if I would say, the most important question for any organization who get into start working on data. Super important, even if it is like very basic, right? Something that anybody would want to know, blank values, null values, date and time. Just take about these very simple examples that we think is all taken care, but actually the answer is no. Just these conversions and these missing values can completely feed garbage into AI, right? Or into the business intelligence. So data quality becomes super prime, and this is where platforms, Snowflake and Fivetran, we put in a lot of data quality checks that you can do along your pipeline. Whether you, as soon as you bring in raw data, you can start to, you can also do some of the in-flight checks, both natively in Snowflake as well as outside, but that becomes the key. And then of course, there are tons of data quality checks. And this now, going back to the earlier question, right? When organizations start to think about data products, we're not just talking about data products in silos. We now start looking at businesses like industries, whether it's financial services, healthcare. I need to address HIPAA, I need to address PCI DSS, or so many other standards. And now you can start to see that my data quality checks have to meet those standards. And that takes you to the next level. And Accenture comes in from vertical experience, taking customers through this journey on the platforms and so on, right? So it becomes key there to have your quality checks so that you can take it to and feed it into what is business ready. not only just business ready, but vertical industry ready. So which means you have this entire pipeline built, and of course, super important. So coming back to your question, data quality is the number one, I would say, big challenge when it comes to the data itself. Of course, there are other challenges. Again, we make it easy so that you have built-in quality checks that you can address with. And also, for those customers, right, who want to do their own, of course, we have many customers who build their own custom scripts. They have their own custom checks because they're specialized in certain industry more than any vendors. And they can simply bring in and put in their rules in there so that they're day one ready when they move from different platforms or from on-prem to cloud or whatever be their journey.
Yeah, great points. Mark, your thoughts about quality and access?
Yeah, so I think in our industry, everybody has used chatbots. So we're all very familiar with the well-written responses that come out of generative AI these days. And it's always very tempting to just take it because it is so well phrased, it's so well written, there's no spelling mistakes, it's absolutely perfect. But it's all based on the data foundation, right? So, and if the data foundation is not solid, if we're inputting the wrong data, ultimately we will get, I would say, incorrect responses, right? Forget about hallucinations. We're just using the wrong foundation to generate a response, but the response will be well written. It will be very tempting to use. We're all under a lot of pressure to be more productive. So it's absolutely critical that we get the foundation right, and that starts with quality data, with correct representations of the data, the way it is in the source, and how it fits in with regulatory requirements, etc. So yeah, data quality is critical to an AI journey.
Yeah, great points about hallucinations. And Ruchi?
So I think Venkat and Mark, they covered most of the points. I'll talk about, client perspective. I don't think so. There is any discussion, any RFP or any solution where I'm involved where client doesn't talks about, we need a data quality framework or how will you manage access. Let's say a banking client, they don't want to give access of all their data to everybody. So there are very, very tight controls that are needed. So you need to create all the RBACs and all those systems in the world. Make sure that it is aligned with client expectations. So that's the view which is coming from a client or an industry perspective. Regardless of the industry, regardless of the type of clients, every client needs quality and access to be sorted. Now, if you talk about AI world, the word, the term that we used was hallucination. So you are right, and that is where AI models are trained on data. So they're as good as the data that you have. And if the quality of data is bad, everything will go for a toss. So they are linked. Now, access again, it's similar. Even with if you have high quality data, unless you have the right controls, right restricted access. You need to decide, right? Who are the people who can combine data across different systems? You have to. That's a very, very important part of our discussions. We spend a lot of time to understand what are the data quality rules client needs, what are the access control client needs. Poor access control will actually it slows down development. It has an impact on cost. It creates a lot of frustration. So in short, my point is AI doesn't fails because of algorithms. AI actually fails because the foundation, as Mark said, foundation is not right. You do not have the trustworthy, accessible data in place. So it's extremely important.
Yeah, and you guys raised some excellent points. And going back to what Mark said, just about the temptation to want to rely on the outputs of these models, whether it's right, wrong, and different, just the outputs in many cases sound so good. So that leads very nicely into our next question about the role of governance, security, and compliance, especially as access to the outputs of LLMs is democratized throughout organizations. What role do governance, security, and compliance play in preparing data for AI? And how can organizations set up that foundation to get it right from the start? Mark, why don't you start with that one?
Yeah, I think part of a solid foundation is a single source of truth, right? So when we think about this from a technology perspective, it means we need a platform that has the scalability to address the needs of the entire organization, but also but then also from a data consolidation perspective, it means we have all the data in a single place. I think for those of us with a bit of gray hair, including myself, we probably remember some scenarios where like somebody has a spreadsheet on their desktop and that becomes their source of truth, right? Like and they create a chart and maybe the chart doesn't look quite the way they like it, so they slightly manipulate the spreadsheet, and or the spreadsheet is just contains outdated data. It's a source of truth that not everybody uses. So I think that is like to get to a single source of truth in a scalable platform is part of that foundation. Then we need to get clear definitions on top of those, get a good semantic model, and so that everybody understands what they're looking at. I think those are two key ingredients to get the governance right, and then from there we go into access control, etc. So yeah, that's it from my perspective.
Great points, Mark. Ruchi?
Okay, so for me, they are the foundation to AI success, right? So we spoke about quality, we spoke about access, now governance, security, compliance, all of these are foundations to AI success. Now, without right governance, security, compliance, even if you have high quality data, you cannot trust it, right? It cannot be trusted, it cannot be used at scale. I've seen clients, they are just not ready to use it unless or until right governance and security measures are in place. Now, what do you mean by that? Governance means that you need to have clear ownership, you need to have the right definitions, and of course, data quality. Security means that you have to make sure that the sensitive information is protected, which means let's just take a finance customer. A customer ID should not be visible to everybody, so masking, etc., should come in place. And then we are talking about compliance. Compliance means that the AI initiatives, they should meet regulatory and ethical standards. So these are the three foundations and extremely important foundations. Now, how do you go there is the question, right? So you need to have the right practices into the system right from the beginning, like some of them Mark suggested. We are talking about practice added into data architecture and processes. Organizations, they should treat governance, security, and compliance as enablers rather than obstacles. And they are the ones that will create a strong and trusted AI foundation. And when your data is secure, it's compliant, and it's well governed, then team can actually focus on deriving insights from data and scaling AI, because they know that everything is in place, and then now they can focus on getting value out of it. So yeah, I think those are the couple of points through which it can be enabled.
Absolutely. Venkat?
Absolutely. I think this is one question that we can talk for 2 hours and it'll still not be complete. So maybe just to start with, right, access, which was previous question, and now with the security and governance, this is the number one blocker. So any customer who's moving and adopting cloud warehouse, cloud data lake, or moving into modern data stack, the first thing is, the biggest worry is security. Can I meet the security standards of my organization, which they've done meticulously on-prem, with so many guardrails and protection, and there's that element of things, right? And again, the more sensitive the data, the more critical IP that the data carries, they're more worried going into cloud, right? So Snowflake, again, from a platform perspective, this is the number one thing we work on to make it a very secure sandbox, so that there are no external access. You don't have to go in and out to work with the data. Between Fivetran and Snowflake, or within Snowflake and between the platforms, you will see that everything is encrypted, the key management is taken care. So you can do all this in the cloud with the different cloud services, but you will have to spend a lot of cycles, effort, manpower, and expertise to build a secure service-to-service layer. So just to give an example, between Fivetran and Snowflake, you can have single sign-on, including the cloud, centralized IDPs, which takes care of your identity authentication. And then when you go into authorization, Snowflake's Horizon governance platform, or the feature that takes care of very granular object level role-based access controls. So you can apply the complete governance framework that you carry today, whichever industry that is, and you can implement that in Snowflake. and both Fivetran and Snowflake runs on the RBAC, right? So your data access and everything is taken care as per your company policy. Now, these are again very, I've gone into technical nitty-gritties, but just to come back again, you can apply your industry governance. Platform comes with certifications, whether it is banking certifications, healthcare certifications, and so on. And customer, and all of this gives another peace of mind, which is this is all managed by Snowflake within the platform, so that customers can now focus on the data, the problem that the data solves, rather than trying to implement key management, trying to do encryption, certificate management, and go through all these pen testing. It's a lot of cycles that is wasted. So again, coming back to the early principles, right? Making it simple and easy and secure by default, so that all your information is protected and you can now work on your intelligence. Now, this becomes even more important with AI, because you need the same governance that you apply for your data across your AI models, across your LLMs. And you mentioned a great point, Brian, which is democratization of data. That's where we started. And now you can see we are democratizing LLMs, we are democratizing the AI models such a way that any user, even a business user, is able to simply run a SQL to get the answers. But then now this brings again the governance paradigm, which is this business user entitled to access this LLM model on this particular data set? So that is the whole governance and security framework that you can apply. So who gets what and how and for how long and so on. So you can actually completely manage this in a very granular way, so that your business can now be assured that the data doesn't leave out, and you're able to run AI close to data. So coming back to the theme of the whole discussion, right? You don't want data to be in a single place, and Mark emphasized this multiple times, single source of truth. You don't want now to have a single source of truth and move this data across to different platforms, run your analytics in other places. So you need AI to run closer, and which adheres to the entire single governance. So single source of truth, single source, single governance engine to manage, to kind of protect everything. So I'll leave you with that there.
Yeah, those are great points. And further to the point of data democratization, I mean, one of the most exciting things about AI today is the opportunity to break into new use cases that maybe weren't imagined just a few years ago. And that also creates strain on infrastructure. So I want to turn to that question. How can organizations assess whether their data infrastructure is mature and robust enough to support AI, and what specifically should leaders be looking for as they roll out new AI use cases to ensure that their infrastructure doesn't crumble under the pressure of those new and unforeseen use cases? So Ruchi, why don't we start with you on that one?
Sure, and this is one of my favorite topics actually. And I've been talking, even I manage a team, and there are a lot of experienced folks there, and I tell them also, strategic thinking is extremely important. Leaders, they have to move beyond the technology stack, right? So technology stack is just one part of the overall picture. You need to think about, like Mark said, like Venkat said, how data is managed, how it flows, what are the different sources, what are the checks and balances you're putting in, and is it trusted across the organizations? Now, for that, there are a couple of key indicators that you can use, like data quality and consistency can be one, where you're thinking that whether your data is accurate, it is consistent, it has the right standard. Then integration and accessibility is important. And it goes back to our previous point, which is all about making sure that your team has the right access. They are able to combine data from multiple sources as needed in the by the stakeholders. Governance and ownership is important, because they need to think if the right roles and responsibilities, policies, they are clearly defined. One of the most important thing that a lot of people forget is about culture and skills, and that's where leaders are for. They need to make sure that there is the right culture in the team. Teams should trust each other, and they should know who to reach out to. How do you make sure that the data is being used effectively? And once for an organization you have yes to all these questions, which means that leaders have a clear strategy, they have a clear viewpoint on the overall picture rather than just thinking about which technology. I think that is where I would say that their infrastructure, the data infrastructure, is well managed and it can support AI.
Great points, Venkat.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give a platform perspective on this question. Firstly, if you look at how things have changed, we're not in the beginning of data revolution. We're actually in the middle somewhere, and we are in the kind of in an accelerated AI revolution here. So platforms like Snowflake have evolved, and now what we call is for the data platform, modern data platform, to address the challenges and to address the scalability of AI, the platform needs to be flexible. So what I mean by that is, if you look at, start with data, right? If you look at data, Snowflake is to provide Snowflake tables, for example. Now we have open data, open table concept. So a lot of customers are adopting open table, Apache Iceberg, and the architecture of the platform now shouldn't be only proprietary tables, but needs to support open table. So the architecture needs to be flexible. Now, next thing is, as we move into AI, there is traditional AI, ML models. Still, a lot of customers use predictive analytics, forecasting, demand forecasting, and so on. And also large language models, small language models, and all the LLM related information. Now, the platform needs to support these different models, not just within the platform, but also cross-platform. So you might want your model, the best model that's in AWS or in OpenAI, and you need to be able to use it in one place. So you can see how the platform is robust to not only provide all of this within the platform, but cross-platform. And key things here is scalability and performance. So you need that kind of scale. So the platform is able to flexibly do this and scale. And in this case, we're talking about giving choice of maybe it's CPUs and GPUs. Pick what you want so that the cost is optimized. Run your training jobs on GPUs, but also normal jobs on CPUs. So you have a mix of costs, and your CIO is happy, your CFO is happy with the costs, and so on. And then, of course, you need to be able to publish this. So when we talk about LLMs, it's not just about using AI in the platform, but it's also about taking this to the market. So you're an end user, you use this for your own organization, but you could also be a customer who's selling this to your customers. So kind of becoming a provider of LLM services or business services. And the platform should be able to also help you do that, which is packaging it in an application and running the application and AI close to your data. So building apps, building AI apps, delivering these apps through Marketplace, Snowflake Marketplace, and to be able to monetize for you to make money, right? So as you can see, the concept of modern data platform that supports AI is drastically changed. You just not it's not enough to just handle data quality, data governance, but you need to be able to have the entire data ops, ML ops, LLM ops, and in an easy way. And you can see now the problem becomes multifold. And this is where we are continuously focusing. And just to come back in some of the examples around integration, Fivetran and Snowflake closely work on open table support, open catalog support, could be open source, which is Polaris, could be Snowflake hosted catalog. So you can see that your single source of truth across Snowflake tables and open table taken care. So your customers can flexibly choose. Biggest problem that it addresses is lock-in. So now you're not vendor locked in. You can bring in an open table and run your AI models, because that is also one of the worry of the customers. The platform supports bringing in their own data, their own standards and IP, and when they want, they can even move around if they want to. So I would say these are all the factors that come in to prove that the platform is mature enough to handle not just today's AI needs, but also the future needs. And like Ruchi mentioned, we are seeing explosion of AI chatbots. Mark mentioned about AI assistants. So these are getting explored. Every platform has it, or every platform needs to have it. Every solution needs to have it. And you can see that the platform can scale to support all of this, not just in one region, one cloud, but across global regions. So you could be running your workload across global regions and global clouds and so on.
Yeah, excellent points about the platforms. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so your question included the keyword infrastructure. Brian and I focused on infrastructure with the role as a technologist. So, and I thought two aspects of platform came to mind when I thought about infrastructure. One is scalability, that of course Venkat talked about a lot, and another one is availability. Now, and I think as an organization, since the question asks about like how can you assess maturity, I think as an organization, you don't necessarily know upfront what your needs are, because you don't necessarily know how fast the company is going to grow, what the benefits are going to be of a certain approach. You may have a strategy of acquisitions. There's may be mergers down the road, etc. And I think so I want to encourage organizations to assess cloud managed services as a means to accommodate flexibility for the future, right? So there's been a lot written and spoken about, like, the scalability of the cloud. We do sadly get the occasional reminder about, like, availability, but compare some of the availability that is broadly published, or the concerns around availability that are broadly published. Compare those to what it would be like to manage your own infrastructure, right? Like, and consider, like, the challenges that you would have to deal with as an organization to do that management, to get the right expertise, to get everybody up to speed. What if some of your experts decide to move on and join one of the cloud providers? Some of these challenges you want to leave up to the experts. And these experts are represented on this on this webinar for certain parts of that infrastructure. So, like, I would highly encourage that, and then to close the loop and do the last mile and put it all together. I think Accenture is a phenomenal partner to make it all work together and help the organizations, again, focus on what they're truly good at, which is leveraging the data to their own advantage, because ultimately that's where the competitive differentiator, or the competitive advantages comes from.
Yeah, I think those are excellent points, and leads nicely into our next question, which is where you see modern cloud platforms like Snowflake and integration platforms like Fivetran fitting into an AI data strategy. You know, it's for executives, particularly of large enterprises, it's all about building your stack and piecing together the different components that are going to allow them to build a robust and scalable AI strategy. So how do those different, how does Snowflake and Fivetran fit into that picture and work together to make that a reality? Venkat, why don't we start with you on that one?
Absolutely, yeah. This is one of my favorite questions, especially working closely with Fivetran, the better together, the partner story, right? I'll give you various examples. So earlier we talked about open table integrations. So Fivetran integrating with Snowflake open table. So now you have so many choice when it comes to ingesting data. You can, whether you're ingesting bulk, incremental, CDCs, various patterns, making it super easy to ingest, but also the target. Do you want to put into Snowflake tables? Do you want to put into open table, whether it's managed by Snowflake, unmanaged by Snowflake, with catalog support, without? So you can see, like, various integrations there, and giving choice to customers, like, we will meet where you want to be, or what is your strategy, right? Moving on, then transformation, lots of things that you could do jointly with transformations, but also moving into security. So I mentioned about encryption, key management, all of that taken care, so there is peace of mind, but also extending this into private links. So the integration in the security space, the governance space, which is no data leaves into or goes into any public network, right? So customers are able to use Fivetran, Snowflake, all within private link context. So their data, which works between the two platforms, does that. Now extend this integration into what we call push scaling. So whatever you do in Fivetran, whether it's ingestion and transformations and so many other things that you do, you can actually push all that processing in Snowflake. So you can see how compute usage is all in one place measured. So you're able to then build your observability. So you have your pipelines in Fivetran where you have all the observability, but for your data observability, all happening in one place. So you can see what's going on there. If there's issues, you can fix. And again, connecting this back into the data product story. So you will need to have the entire intelligence around your data, around the metadata, and observability becomes a key part of that, and that is also part of the integrations. And as you move to the right side, you will see using AI, using LLMs, and then again from Fivetran, you're able to make calls. Some of the integrations we work, for example, in a healthcare, where Fivetran and Snowflake, where you prepare the data using Fivetran pipelines, as fast as you can. That's the whole story, right? Value, getting the raw data into business ready. How soon can you get it with all the quality checks and so on, and feeding into AI. So you're not going to just do this for BI's sake. This is all going into LLMs, and you're able to leverage the entire Cortex AI family, which is all fully managed in Snowflake, and you're able to even run, for example, Streamlit apps within Snowflake, which is a full, low-code UI that you can really build within Snowflake. And you can see how there's data, there's AI, there's pipelines, there's observability, and there's also the Streamlit app that is also inside the platform with no data leaving outside. So the integrations kind of come in together. And again, I would emphasize that when it comes to ingestion and all the way, Fivetran, I know you're hitting 800 connectors, right? So you can see how the combination becomes so powerful. And going back to the single source of truth, customers might have 20 or even 200 data sources. So you can easily bring it without actually building anything by yourself. So it is all out of the box, and those integrations to land the data into Snowflake. And then you can do the raw, the gold, bronze, silver layer, all of that patterns that you can execute using all these integrations. Now, the way, just to summarize all that, I know I spoke a lot of things. This is all to make it super easy so that customers or a data user comes in and starts from ingestion and goes to AI, all without dabbling and trying to figure out many different things and so on. So that's what we're talking about here when it comes to integrations and making it super easy for customers to simply start to realize their insights from the data.
Absolutely. Mark?
Yeah, so Venkat obviously covered the data platform, the scalability aspects, the rich capabilities that are there for AI. I just want to reiterate the value of unlocking data from data sources. We do have hundreds of data sources supported directly inside of Fivetran. We have by request capabilities for customers who use a publicly accessible system that is not currently supported, where we commit to building it, or we help building it. And then lastly, we have an SDK available for customers who have an application that may be homegrown, that may not have complete documentation, where there is a need to do specific extraction. Like ultimately, and we spoke about governance already, you want that data to be extracted efficiently, but also securely and scalably. And those are aspects that from a data extraction and data movement perspective where Fivetran can help. So just want to add that to the platform capabilities that then we see on the Snowflake side from a data processing perspective.
Great points, Ruchi.
So I think Venkat and Mark has covered most of the pointers. I'll try to be brief here. See, based on, and this is coming based on my conversation with clients, how they perceive Snowflake and Fivetran. Now, modern cloud platforms like Fivetran, and then integration tools like modern cloud platforms like Snowflake, and then integration tools like Fivetran. They say that it's, they're the key enablers for AI ready data strategy. Now, how does that happen? As per them, it helps organizations to break data silos. The analytics can be centralized, and then a high quality data can be made accessible across the enterprise. Now, Venkat spoke about Snowflake. Right? We understood scalability, security, governed platform. You can have data from multiple data sources. It can be stored in standardized format. You can analyze it. Fivetran, on the other hand, it kind of automates the integration of data from different sources, and it ensures that the team always have fresh, reliable, and connected data. And that is needed for all the AI initiatives. So the way they, when I say they, the clients perceive it is, together, both of these platforms, they actually reduce time and effort, which is needed for data preparations, and it allows organizations to focus on building insights and AI models, which is their priority, rather than struggling with infrastructures. So in short, these are not just tools; they are they can be termed as foundational enablers for scaling AI across business. That's the way people have started looking into this combination.
Yeah, those are great points. And thinking about what organizations who are doing this well, what are they doing right? I want to focus on that question for a second. Are there any, across industries, any patterns or best practices that you guys are seeing from organizations that are excelling at AI adoption? Mark, why don't you start with that one?
Yeah, so I think organizations that focus on AI are at the forefront of adopting modern technologies and modern infrastructure. I see a lot of organizations going through phases of eliminating self-hosted solutions, moving from like on-premises data centers into cloud hosted solutions, adopting cloud technologies, but along the way, making sure that the infrastructure continues to operate. At the end of the day, it is critically important that, never mind legacy systems, that data continues to flow, and there is a high need for flexibility in that space. I think the organizations that are most at the forefront of AI adoption are the ones that pay a lot of attention to, like, what are the data sources and how can we extract them and how can we transition into more modern technologies whilst we continue to keep the data flowing, but leave no data behind. Ultimately, is I think the key word there.
Absolutely, Ruchi. What are you seeing in terms of best practices?
So there's a shift. I think in terms of data, organizations, they have understood that data is a asset. So they consider data as a strategic asset. They are investing in high quality, connected and governed data from the beginning. Then modern data platforms is something that has become a need now. We have moved from traditional to modern data platforms. Now it's all about modern data platforms with AI, Gen AI, and now agents, because it all allows seamless access and integration across systems. I've had clients who are talking about, give me a data mesh framework, talk about data products, give me, everybody needs moons and stars. So organizations have started understanding that. Then there is I always bring the team factor. There is a focus on building cross-functional teams. People have understood that domain expertise is important, data science, engineering. So all of these are together ingredients or secret sauce of success. So there's a focus there. Then in terms of AI, it's all about embedding AI into processes rather than treating it as a separate project. So with all this, if you talk about excelling in AI, it is less about having the latest algorithm or making sure that you have the right model, etc., etc. But as we have been talking from the beginning, data is the core. So you need to have the strong data foundations. You need to have a culture of trust and collaboration, and then you need to have the ability to deliver operational insights at scale.
Great points. Venkat, what are you seeing as best practices?
Sure, Brian. This brings us to a very interesting and important area of the platform, Snowflake platform. This is data sharing and extending that into marketplace. So live data shares, marketplace. So what does it mean in an industry context? So for those organizations who are already on Snowflake, they already know this. But those who are new can go to Snowflake Marketplace and you will see a lot of industry-focused companies which provide data. For example, the big financial industries we can mention, right? S&P Global, FactSets. So what you see now is organizations that are in banking and finance and credit and so on. And let's say they want to do risk analytics. They need the risk management data from FactSet, for example. And they can go into Marketplace and get the live data, subscribe for the data, and join their business data with the market risk data, for example, or climate risk, or so many financial risk data. So from an industry point of view, what we bring in is being a modern data platform with the marketplace, industry-specific data sets that is ready queryable data without the need for doing any ETLs or pipelines. So it's as simple as a simple one-click get command, get a button that they need to press in the marketplace, in the provider studio, and they're able to subscribe. And of course, there are a lot of paid and free data. So customers or organizations who want to play around with the data to see how it enhances their AI models in specific industries, they can do so. And not just finance. So you will see manufacturing data, IoT data, weather-related data, geospatial data, so many data sets coming from industry providers who provide internet. Now, to make it even better, of course, the data part has been there for a while now, and a lot of customers subscribe to data. We're moving to the next stage, which is applications and AI. So a good example is you have the foundational models readily available in the platform for you to go in, play around, and start to use it. But also providers who are providing fine-tuned models specific to certain industries and applications that's built around the AI, which again provide specific industry use cases or business use cases that they address. And consumers are able to go into marketplace, simply click and install the app without worrying about building code, testing it, because all comes with security guarantees and so on. And they're able to realize their industry use cases with the help of data sharing and marketplace.
Absolutely. So furthering on that conversation about best practices and what you guys see working, could you share some real world examples of where a strong data foundation led to AI success? And maybe if you have any, one where lack of readiness may have caused some setbacks on AI initiatives. Ruchi, why don't you start with that one?
Sure, and I'll try to be quick. So I'll give you two quick examples. One where it worked well with one of our clients, one where it did not, which is not our client. But then I'm talking about a retail client. They actually invested in modern cloud-based platforms. They included, things like Fivetran, Snowflake. They standardized data, sales, inventory, everything across. So eventually, what it helped, because they were able to deploy AI models, they were able to get personalized recommendations and demand forecasting, and it eventually resulted in revenue growth and operational efficiency. So that's a quick example of a customer who benefited from the overall, strategy that we have been talking about. Now, I have also seen organizations, they jump to AI projects without doing all the required homework, which means that the data quality is not good, data is in silos, and they have multiple systems with incorrect customer data, ownership is not right, etc. And eventually what happens is your AI models, it gives hallucinations, it gives wrong insights, team lost trust in outputs, and the initiatives get stalled. So eventually the lesson that we are talking about is that, again, a strong data foundation, it is extremely important to enable AI to deliver real world business impact.
Okay, great examples. Venkat?
Yeah, so I have two examples of customers, but before diving that, one point to mention here is how we handle to eliminate hallucinations in Snowflake is these models are trained on the business data with the business context. So what we call the semantic models. Now, semantic models kind of give the business intelligence metadata for that data, and these are something that organizations, partners can build in, so that your AI models never goes out of it. So they're 100% accurate when it comes to data. Now, a couple of large organizations, and for those of you who are interested to read more, you can go to Snowflake website and look for case studies. So one of them is Siemens Energy, huge customer of Snowflake. Again, it's a huge conglomerate. So you can imagine the challenges that come from having so many data sources, IoT, and energy systems sending data, and so on. One of the big challenges they had, even though they were on Snowflake, was processing unstructured documents, unstructured information. And now we didn't talk about this earlier, but when it comes to data explosion, this is the biggest thing we see that feeds into AI, which is unstructured information. And they were able to process all that while they could do it with open source models, but then the management becomes an issue. So Snowflake provided the Cortex AI, where it is all, the AI part is all managed. So the organization was able to bring in their unstructured information, process it, and derive insights. We talked about data quality, so we're also putting in data quality checks on unstructured data. So some of you who are interested there, stay tuned on that, and you will see a lot more things happening there. Another example is Penske, a transportation company. And again, they had huge roadblocks on reporting and so on, because the tools are outside, the data moving from the platform outside, and they didn't want that. And again, Cortex came as a kind of a gift for them, which is now bring the AI to the data. So the data doesn't leave the platform, and the AI is fully managed, so they don't have to be an expert. So democratizing AI really means for us is you don't have to be a data scientist. You don't even have to be an expert in Python or Java or SQL. You simply need to know basics of running a SQL function, SQL command, and you're able to consume Cortex AI on your data. So make it all very simple, easy to understand, both from a UI as well as from CLI perspective. And these are some of the examples where these customers benefited a lot, because they did not go into earlier point that Mark made about infrastructure. So the whole thing is, it is without worrying about should I run some compile some GPU drivers, should I compile some CPU drivers, do this and that and train? No, you don't have to do all that. So that is how these customers have benefited. Again, all this tied to their ROI, which was, how do I quickly get this many thousands of documents processed within certain time? And also in Penske case, it's about reporting. How do I get all these reporting and give the business to ask questions? Go talk to the data, ask whatever questions you want, and that is like immediate, right? Compared to the good old days of BI, where they had to go and dabble in thousands of reports and they get frustrated. Now it's like, okay, you have the reports, but here's the data and here's the interface, go chat with it, and then tell me if you want this in a reporting format. So we've kind of done these to ease the pain of infrastructure as well as AI management, so they can actually now easily talk to the data.
Yeah, great points. Mark?
Yeah, so generative AI is, of course, quite the popular technology and very visible these days. There is also, of course, more classic machine learning, AI, and there's many examples across industries there. Just a couple that I'll mention here, like a very large CPG, consumer product goods company, who optimizes their distribution down to the point of sale through the use of AI, basically pulling data out of their ERP system and making sure that the right inventory is at the right store at the right time, depending on local conditions. There's examples in industrial manufacturing where organizations have like literally moving targets and want to make sure that they can do preventative maintenance at the right time with the right expertise, with the right parts. So very complex data-driven data-driven challenges that get resolved through the use of AI and through the use of centralizing data and ultimately leveraging the data sets and making it all the best for their customers.
Yeah, great points and examples all around. We are just about out of time, so we could certainly continue this conversation for much longer if we had more time. But it has been incredibly interesting. So thank you to all of our panelists for the great insights today, and thank you to everyone in our audience for joining us. If you missed any of the webinar or want to rewatch anything, the recording will be available just a few minutes after the webinar if you refresh the page. And want to say a special thank you again to our partners at Fivetran, Accenture, and Snowflake for making this incredible conversation possible. So we'll see all of you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.